Next.
Number one from 12.4. It's 470.
Okay. 70.
Or maybe number 6.
Okay. Okay, so for number 6, we're looking at the least common multiple of f and g, right? So f is, so we're happily living in qx, and f of x is 10 x squared plus 1, x squared plus 4x plus 2 cubed, x cubed minus 7 to the 5th, x to the 4th plus 5 squared, and x cubed plus 3x minus 6, plus 3x minus 6. And g is negative 4 times x plus 3 squared, x squared plus 1 cubed, x squared plus 4x plus 10 to the 4th, x cubed minus 7 cubed, x cubed plus 3x minus 6 squared, and then x squared, x to the 6th, I can see one difficulty in this. And this is somewhat the problem of jumping sections a bit. But okay, so we want the least common multiple and or the greatest common divisor here, which means we don't have to worry about the number in front. What we want is we want this thing to be factored into irreducibles or monic irreducibles. And for the greatest common divisor for each piece, we take the bigger exponent, rather, for the greatest common divisor for each factor, for each irreducible piece, we take the smaller exponent, and for the least common multiple, we take the bigger exponent. The only sort of tricky part, and I don't know if you realize it was tricky, in order to use this to compute greatest common divisor, least common multiple, and so on, we need that we're factored into irreducibles. Well, this is the linear factor x. Again, don't think of this as a quadratic. This is the linear factor x raised to the 2nd power. This is an irreducible quadratic because there are no rational roots. This is an irreducible quadratic because it has no rational roots. Again, irreducible cubic. Again, for degrees 2 and 3, irreducible and having no rational roots are the same thing. So x cubed minus 7, irreducible. X to the 4th plus 5th. Okay, I made life a little harder than I had planned. Okay. This one, you can check, has no rational roots, so it's irreducible. The only ones we haven't talked about are this one and this one, which is a little tough. You might have I don't know if this was the problem, the issue that you had. You might have just assumed that x to the 4th plus 5 and x to the 6th plus 10x to the 5th minus 15 were irreducible. I don't know if your issue was whether or not those were irreducible, because that might have been the issue. But the point is, trust me, they are. So this thing cannot be factored into polynomials of small degree with rational coefficients. This one also can't be factored into polynomials of small degree with rational coefficients. I don't know if that was an issue or not.
I mean, it's just because you won't find a real solution to x to the 4th plus 5 equals 0?
It's a little more complicated than that. In other words, there are techniques, in fact, it's going to be related to the first thing we do after the midterm, as to why number 4 is irreducible. The y x to the 6th plus 10x to the 5th minus 15 is irreducible. That requires some stuff that's going to come quite a bit later. So my apologies for that. So I should have pointed out that these things are irreducible. In which case, when you're looking for the least common multiple, for every irreducible factor, you take the bigger exponent. So there's an x, and the biggest factor of x is x squared. Okay, you're done. And now I'm looking for the LCM here. For x squared plus 1, I got first power and third power. So the biggest power is 3. For x to the 4th plus 4x plus 10, third power and fourth power, the biggest power is the 4th. X cubed minus 7, third power and fifth power, the biggest power is the fifth power. X to the 4th plus 5th, second power on top doesn't appear on the bottom, so the biggest power is 2. X squared plus 3x minus 7, first power on top, second power on the bottom, so times. Thank you. Okay, so second was the biggest power, so you're taken care of. Okay, so that takes care of everything that actually occurred on top. What haven't we mentioned? X plus 3 occurs to the second power on the bottom. And x squared plus 10x to the 5th minus 15 for and again, it doesn't occur on top, but on the bottom, it occurs to the third power, so the biggest exponent is 3. So the least common multiple is this product. And again, the unintended monkey wrench was the fact that this 4th degree polynomial and this 5th degree polynomial were irreducible over Q. But other than that, it's just a simple matter of, for each irreducible term, compare the exponent on the top and bottom, least common multiple takes the bigger one, greatest common divisor takes the smaller one.
So if this was under the integers, we would account for 10 and -4. It's only because it's irrational that we don't.
Well, as long as you have x's floating around, we're in other words, I'm not going to ask you for I'm not going to ask you for the least common multiple, the greatest common divisor in here. We're just going to talk about it inside of here. Because technically speaking, least common multiples are supposed to be monic. So if you wanted the least common multiple of 2x plus 1, or if you wanted the greatest common divisor, 2x plus 1 and 2x plus 1, well, clearly the answer is 2x plus 1. But if the answer is supposed to be monic, it would be x plus 1/2, except x plus 1/2 that doesn't live in here. Because again, you want your least common multiple, and greatest common divisors to be monic, because otherwise there are an infinite number of them. Because then I could just take this, and multiply this by 3 or 4 or 1/3 or 7/5. There would be an infinite number of least common multiples. So to make sure we know which one we're talking about, we say, let's make it monic. But in here, if you're looking at ZFX, you can't make this one monic without leaving. So, obviously in the integers, I might have asked you, I could ask you the greatest common divisor of the 10 and the -4, but I wouldn't ask you about the greatest common divisor of different polynomials. Other questions? Have I worn you down? Usually at about the 2.5 hour mark, people tend to be kind of worn down. Let's see. Anyone here have homework for me, or?
I do.
Okay. In fact, I printed it out this morning.
Is this kind of stuff on our midterm?
The stuff from chapters 1 and 2, no, and that's sort of background material.
Okay.
The point of that homework was, of this homework, again, it's graded only in the sense that I see that people did it, but I just sort of want to take the pulse of the class to see how comfortable they are with induction and things like that. I have a stapler upstairs. Okay. Other questions, or shall we call it quits? Well, if everything works out properly, then in a couple hours this will be posted up. Well, you guys don't really need it posted up online, but thank you for actually showing up in person, because if it was just me talking to the computer the whole time.